Hello. Good evening, everybody. Sorry we're a few minutes late. Of course, my dog has to go out right before we come home. So, welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth. And if you've not been here before, I am your friendly hillbilly host. And this is Hillbilly Crime. We've got Sweet Tater tonight. And I got to take something from my dog. All right, sorry about that. How is everybody tonight? We got a whole bunch of people here. How are you, Mommy? How was your day?
Oh, I had a wonderful day. I had a singing lesson, and we sang "Which Side Are You On?" and some other old religious song I got to remember, and we sang Shady Grove. Oh, we just did so good. This girl's teaching me to carry the tune to some of them old tunes. I've heard them all my life, but there's a difference between hearing them and then trying to sing them all by yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes having a dog is like having a toddler. Sorry.
And I lose my tune. See, I got my baby here.
Yeah, I'm over here wrestling with this one. She went in there and dug something out of the garbage, and now she's fighting me for it.
Mine did that the other day. They had the garbage strung out all over my kitchen.
Sheesh. All right, Jay Whitehead. Hello, Miss Mert. Good evening, Kentucky Bluebirds. All right. Somebody just became a member. Awesome, 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 Miss Tiffany. I'm getting ready to have to put her up somewhere.
These little old dogs act like they're children, you know? They're so funny.
Worse than toddlers.
Oh, they're just awful. They follow me around and beg you for food.
Sheesh. There we go. Always a Walmart. Became a YouTube member. So we had an exciting time last night. We were
I watched that and it was really good.
Yeah, I had a great time.
That doctor person said I kind of agreed with him in most of what he said.
He came around by the end of the show. He listened, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take in information and then, make our mind up as we learn new information. When we dig our heels in and just refuse to listen or learn anything new, it doesn't do us any good. Let's see. Hello from Salem. Terry, good evening. Your interview was great last night. Yeah, we had a really good time. We're going to go back. And Court TV apparently got didn't let me know that they had changed their day. So I guess we're going to be doing that one next week, which that's great. We'll do it whenever they're ready. Awesome Possum. Hello, allegedly Lisa. We're going to look at some history in the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. Let me pull this up. So somebody had sent me this video, and it's on YouTube. It's a YouTube video, and it's like 12 years old. But I think it's very telling about how things go.
Okay, just stand by if there's any trouble.
Okay, so this video was, I put the link to it in the description. So if anybody wants to go and listen to the whole thing, I just kind of started it from where it's relevant to us. All right, so this was a woman who had been arrested here in Letcher County in a rug bust. And Brian Damron was a deputy then, and I think he was, it says that he was a supervising deputy. And thank you guys. We got another member, and we've got a $10 super chat. Awesome. Thank you. I'll fix that in just a second. And so when the case must have been concluded at the end of it, and Edison Banks, our Commonwealth attorney, who just passed away recently, and he's also the Commonwealth attorney who's live-in medical aid. We're going to do a good show on that one too. She's fighting for all his assets. She was power of attorney over his whole system, his whole life. So she's fighting for all his assets and everything. I think that's just staggering, shocking. But anyway, so at the end of it, Edison had told her to go get her property. It was an iPhone. She had a phone that was confiscated in the investigation. And so she went to go get her property out of the sheriff's office. And she had a very, she had a struggle. So let's listen to it.
Trouble, I'll call you. Just be by the phone.
I put upstairs to the computer.
Okay, well don't worry about it then. Stay where you are. I will call you by phone. No need to go anywhere, okay?
Okay.
All right, take care. I'll call you back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Van Dyke, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm about to call our general counsel and put her on the line so she can hear your story directly. And if she's available, I want her to assist you. But first, I want to go over some things that happened with you regarding an arrest that happened at the Letcher County Sheriff's Office. I have your initial complaint to me loaded into my system. And what I want to do is play that. You won't be able to hear it, but when we present this to public officials, I want them to be able to hear what you reported to me at the time of the arrest. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so just stand by for a moment. Okay, I'm now playing the call that you made to my office on the day you were arrested. Just a moment. Thank you so much. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Not a problem.
Bye-bye. Oh, shit.
What is it?
Okay, Cheryl? Cheryl?
Yes.
Hey, tell me what happened.
Okay, we went to court this morning and got the situation with the social worker took care of. And Asher, my lawyer, told me to go on down to the sheriff's department and ask for the iPhone back. So I went down there, and Officer Ingalls was standing there, and I told him, I said, my lawyer told me to come on down here and get the iPhone that Brian Damron took in March. And he left for a little bit and then come back, and he said, he got a hold of Brian. Brian said that he would take it to your lawyer or that he would give it to Edison Banks, the prosecuting attorney. Well, I had spoke to Edison on my way there. So I told him, I said, well, I spoke to Mr. Banks.
Okay, Ms. Van Dyke?
Yes.
The first portion of your statement says you went down to the sheriff's office to retrieve property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't create any disturbance. You didn't cause any problems. You just went to get the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and at some point while you were there, you ran into Officer Ingalls?
Yes.
Okay, you're getting to that part in the story, so let me start from there. I'm going to start playing the tape again. Again, you won't hear it, but I can hear it, and anyone watching on the website can hear it now. So just let me go back to that now. Okay, stand by.
Here. So when he heard me say that, he come around from that desk, grabbed me, slung me up against the wall, told me I was under arrest. He said, you will not come in my house and fucking disrespect me.
This was Lieutenant Ingalls who did this?
Yes.
And
She's talking about Barry Ingalls, who is a deputy, or well, he used to be a deputy. He also used to be a state police officer. And I don't know Barry Ingalls very well at all. I've met him a handful of times, and he's always been real nice to me. But apparently he wasn't very nice to this lady that day.
And he did this just based on you mentioning the fact that you would have us come and assist you with your complaint.
Yes, and he lied to my lawyer and the judge and everybody and said that the reason that he put me in jail for
Okay, you just said in the tape recording that Deputy Ingalls told you you will not come in my house and disrespect me?
Yes.
Okay, and he then arrested you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me get our attorney on the phone. I want to talk to her about this. Just a minute. Call GTM.
Ringing.
Welcome to GoToMeeting. Online meetings made easy. Please enter your... The access code you entered is invalid. You entered 184.
Just a minute.
Lawyers are always complicated.
Okay, and while I'm pulling this up, Ms. Van Dyke, tell me what happened while you were in the lobby.
I went to the lobby and first spoke with a woman named Shauna Frazier and told her I was there to pick up our property. She went to look for it. While she was looking for it, Officer Ingalls came to the window. That's when he told me that I wouldn't get my property until Monday. And I had told him that Edson Banks, the county attorney, had told me if they had a problem giving my property back to call him. When I told him that, he pretty much just told me, sorry, Brian's not going to be here till Monday. I went to leave, and my husband was talking, and I told him, Mark, just come on. We'll let D-Off and police abuse take care of this when they come. When I said that, he started screaming, you stay right where you're at. You stay where you're at. Come around to the lobby, swung me up against the wall right at the window, and cussed me.
Okay, stand by, Cheryl. Okay, Serena, are you there?
Yes.
No, not you, Ms. Van Dyke. This is our attorney.
I'm here. Hello?
Okay.
Hi.
All right. Ms. Van Dyke, you're on the line with our attorney, Serena Robinson McBello, and she can hear you. Serena, can you hear Ms. Van Dyke? Ms. Van Dyke, give me a short test count.
Hello?
Yeah, can you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 real quick?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, Serena, are you able to hear Ms. Van Dyke?
I heard it loud and clear.
Okay, let me briefly go over where we are with her case and what I need you to do. She was arrested by the Letcher County Sheriff's Office after going into the police station to retrieve property. She didn't commit any crime. She wasn't creating a disturbance. And they simply arrested her because she mentioned the words policeabuse.com. And I want Ms. Van Dyke to just go over that part of what happened. Ms. Van Dyke, I have it on tape, but I want you to briefly tell Ms. McBello what happened to you in the lobby.
Okay, I had spoke with the county attorney, Edison Banks, and he had told me to go to the sheriff's office to retrieve my property. He had told me if they had a problem with retrieving the property to call him. When I went into the sheriff's office, I spoke with Shauna Frazier and told her I was there to get my property. She went to look for it. While she was looking for it, Barry Ingalls came to the window. He asked me what I needed, and I told him, and he said that Brian would not be back until Monday. I then told him that Edison Banks, the county attorney, told me if they had a problem giving my property back to call him. He again told me it would be Monday. I went to leave. My husband was talking, and I told him, Mark, come on, we will just let police abuse and D-Dog take care of it. And when I said that, he began screaming, stay where you're at, stay where you're at. And he came out and swung me against the wall and handcuffed me.
Now, let me stop you there. Serena, what I want to tell you is the striking part about this is that after they arrested her, took her in back, had her in handcuffs, they unarrested her 1 hour later, telling her that she was released and that in some respects...
Actually, Mr. D-Off,
go ahead.
It was 4 hours later.
4 hours later, she was released and they unarrested her. So Ms. Van Dyke wants to pursue a legal action against the department. I want to do some research on the case. I wanted to first introduce you to her. I'm going to be calling some public officials in the next hour to ask them what recourse she has regarding what was done to her. And Serena, I'm going to be playing the remainder of a conversation I had, or a portion of a conversation I had with one of the officers who's responsible. He's actually not the arresting officer, but he's the arresting officer's supervisor. His name is Brian Damron. And I want to just make you aware of a few things related to the case that tie him into this. Now, he wasn't there to make the arrest in the lobby of the police station, but what he did do is he arrested Miss Van Dyke previously, which is the charge that got this all started, for selling bath salts. And it's a long story. I don't need to go into all of it, but it's basically a small town agency going big time and trying to start a drug, investigation. And this officer made a number of critical mistakes in his investigation. One is he didn't secure evidence that was directly related to her, Miss Van Dyke's prosecution. He was driving around with the evidence in his trunk, or one of the officers was, for several months, OJ style, with no logging of the evidence and no proper storage. The second thing that he did is he took a 9-year-old minor child of a confidential informant with him on one of the raids he was doing related to this investigation. So there are a bunch of mistakes. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you. The child wasn't 9. The child probably wasn't even 2 or 3. The child was in a car seat.
You're kidding me.
No, the child was in a car seat, not a 9-year-old child. This child was in a car seat, and the child was crying when she went to pick up the product. The child was crying, and she started saying, "I'm going to beat the hell out of you. You need an exorcism done."
The mother was telling the baby that with the officer there during an undercover investigation.
The officer wasn't there. She was a confidential informant. Her and another girl was a confidential informant, and they took the small child to my shop to do the undercover buy.
Okay, but they were making the buy for Brian Damron.
Yes, sir. Brian Damron was waiting about 3/4 of a mile down the road on him.
Well, that's what I mean. I've done undercover work. He was in it. He was supervising it. He probably dropped them off down the street, and then they walked into your shop. But
I had it on film. There was 2 cars. He waited beside the church, gave them another car, and sent him off. He recorded it all, and he's actually on there saying, "Don't worry, this won't go to court. I can stop the tape when I want to."
Okay. Well, anyway, these are the kinds of things that went on in this case, Serena. So I'm going to ask you to manage Miss Van Dyke's case from this point forward. And Miss Van Dyke, I was going to make those calls to the public officials now, but I want to wait. I actually want to get off the air and go directly online with Serena after I finish with you for 2 reasons. One, I want to give her some of the evidence in your case directly. And 2, I want her to assist in making some of the calls that I want to make. And then I want to follow it up with letters. So we are going to write your Kentucky State Senator, Mitch McConnell. We're going to contact your local state congressional representative. And then we're going to contact the sheriff. And we're going to send in letters on all those 3 things. So I'll get those copies of them to you after Serena has a chance to go over the case with me. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Last thing is our interview right now is playing live on the website. And Serena, I'll be back on the conference line with you. I'm going to hang up now, so stay there. I'll be calling back in about 5 minutes after I wrap up with Miss Van Dyke.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
I just had a quick question. What happened after she was released 4 hours later? What happened after that time period?
Nothing. They're not prosecuting her. That's what I'm telling you. There's no case. They had no crime. They just arrested her on impulse because they got angry, right. At least it appears this way. They got angry that she was saying she was going to make a complaint through us, and they retaliated, and then it was too late.
And I'll just stop it real quick and let you know that's exactly what happened to me whenever I got my attorney, whenever I said, I need an attorney. Whenever I got an attorney, that's what made them so mad. It was like, oh, that's what really made them mad. So I can relate to what they're saying right there.
Took her in back, and then they had to make up a story, but then they backed right out of the story, released her, and there are no charges. She has no charges pending.
Okay, that's what. All right.
Okay. All right. So I'll give you the case file, and I'll be calling you back in the conference room in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Van Dyke, you won't be able to hear this, and you can actually hang up. I'm going to go ahead and play a portion of my phone call with Brian Damron, and then I'll be calling you back after I have a chance to speak with our attorney.
Okay, I'll be here.
Okay, you take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Letcher County Sheriff's Office. This is Kyle.
Yes, I'd like to know if Lieutenant Damron is around.
This is good.
Speaking.
Well, I have some information I want to get, and I need to speak with Lieutenant Damron if he's available.
Okay, what's your name?
It's about a case, and I don't really want to give my name. Is this telephone line recorded?
No.
Okay, well,
Good.
if I wanted to give him some information about a crime, how would I do that? Should I just, mail him a letter or something?
No, just give me your name, what it's about, a contact phone number, and I'll go back there and tell you on the line hoping for you.
Well, I can hold, but I don't want to give my name right now.
Okay, well, then what's it about?
It's about a situation that it's a crime, and I want to, give him some information. I have something I think he would want to know, but if you don't want to give him the phone, I don't, know what to do.
Hold on one second. There's something about your smile.
I will stop it too and just let you know here in a minute, this guy who called Brian Damron, he mixes up his information here in a minute. He accuses Brian of being the one to arrest her in the lobby instead of it being Barry Ingalls. So he kind of got his information mixed up on this phone call, but you'll hear it. Oh, I hope we might get in trouble for that song.
Who's this?
I want to ask you, how would I file a complaint about you?
Do what?
How would I file a complaint about you with the sheriff's office? How would I do that?
Why do you need to file a complaint about me with the sheriff's office?
Because I believe you committed a crime and I want to report it to the sheriff, but I just need to know how to do that. How would I go about doing that?
What crime did I commit?
You retaliated against a woman who was in the lobby after she mentioned my name. You arrested her for mentioning my name, and I think that's criminal, and I want to report it to the sheriff's office.
I arrested a woman for mentioning your name. Are you being serious?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Who's the woman I arrested?
Cheryl Van Dyke.
Cheryl Van Dyke.
Yes.
Okay, and what is your name?
My name is Kamal. I'm with policeabuse.com, and when she mentioned my name, you arrested her.
I didn't arrest anybody. The only arrest that I made in reference to Cheryl Van Dyke was a possession case that she pled guilty to.
And you
I never arrested her.
You didn't arrest her in the lobby when she came in to pick up?
No, you better get your facts straight, Mr.
Yeah.
PoliceAbuse.com, because
Yeah.
I didn't arrest anybody.
You had nothing to do with that.
No.
Okay. Do you know what an arraignment is?
No, and as far as I understand, she's already pled guilty to that charge.
You don't know what an arraignment is?
Yeah, I know what an arraignment is.
What's an arraignment?
Let me explain something to you. If you've got a problem or you want to do anything,
I want to know if you know what an arraignment is. I'm asking you a direct question.
let me explain something to you, sir. If you want to talk to me, you get you an attorney.
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm asking you a question. How do I file a complaint about
I'll tell
you?
you right now. The only arrest that I made of Cheryl Van Dyke had nothing to do with you or your website.
Did you take a 9-year-old with you on that arrest?
He got that
Do
wrong
what?
too.
Did you take a 9-year-old minor child with you on a search, on an arrest? Did you take a child with you with your informant?
Yeah.
We'll come back to this story in a few days at policeabuse.com. Take care.
That was so funny. All right. Now, did you hear it, Zelma? All we can see is your ceiling fan.
Oh, well, let's see. How's that?
There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. Now this, I tried to find this I Googled, or I went into Facebook and I searched for the articles and the news stories that were around him getting arrested, Brian Damron. And all of them that I went to said that they were no longer available. You know how it'll do like 404? No, I forget what it said, but I had a hard time finding it. But I found it on YouTube. So here we go.
On the wrong side of the jail cell. Today, a former Letcher County Sheriff's deputy learned his punishment for stealing.
A judge sentenced Brian Damron to 5 years in prison. Investigators say he stole guns and other items and then sold them on the streets. I was in the courtroom when Damron learned his fate.
Now, this is the same guy that we just heard answer the phone at the sheriff's office.
Former Letcher County Sheriff's deputy Brian Damron faced 7 charges, including receiving stolen property and theft.
For whatever reason, he started on a bad track a couple of years ago, started stealing weapons from this police department and started selling them. We still don't know why he did it.
Damron pleaded guilty to all charges as part of.
And of course, there's the attorney to the stars, y'all. There is Daniel Dotson. I would not have expected anything less.
The plea agreement, Damron would serve prison time. Tuesday, Damron's attorney, Daniel Dotson, filed a motion for probation.
I oppose that because that was part of the original plea agreement, that we would oppose the motion to get out of prison either today or to get out early.
Damron's attorney declined to interview, but in his address to the courtroom, he said Damron's military success in the Marine Corps and his work as a deputy should be taken into consideration. The judge denied the motion. Damron will spend 5 years in prison.
The 5-year sentence I thought was appropriate for what he had done, considering his background and considering that all the items that were taken had been recovered by him and returned.
Special Prosecutor Rick Bartley called this a sad case. He says Damron dishonored law enforcement, but he also says Damron's actions in the courtroom are to be respected.
Frankly, I do appreciate the fact that he did accept responsibility, did plead guilty, and did agree to go to prison. He did not put everyone through the trial that would have had to have taken place, so I do respect him for that.
Damron's parents were in the courtroom for his sentencing. They declined to comment. We are told Damron will be taken to the Harlan County Detention Center to serve his sentence.
Oh, wow. He had to do it in Harlan County. Okay. Now, he did not spend 5 years in prison, of course. You all know that. Let's read this article. This one was July 15th, 2015. Ex-deputy to get 5 years. Prosecutor, no probation. Former Letcher County Sheriff's Deputy Brian Damron will serve 5 years in prison with no chance of parole or probation under a plea agreement reached Tuesday in Letcher Circuit Court. Damron, who was second in command at the Letcher County Sheriff's Office until last October, pleaded guilty to 6 counts of receiving stolen property and 1 count of theft by unlawful taking during a hearing before Special Letcher Circuit Judge Johnny Ray Harris. A 7th charge of receiving stolen property was dismissed. Damron, who was ordered taken into custody by Judge Harris at the end of the hearing, is being housed in the Harlan County Jail for safety considerations. This week's plea agreement was reached between Damron, 38, his attorney, Daniel Dotson of Whitesburg, and Pike Commonwealth's attorney, Rick Bartley. Bartley, who was assigned to the case after Letcher Commonwealth's attorney, Edison G. Banks, stepped aside, told Judge Harris he will oppose all forms of probation or early parole when formal sentencing for Damron is held August 4th. I can't wait to find out what changed. We've got another article to read. Standing before Judge Harris and beside Attorney Dotson, Damron choked up frequently as he answered yes each of 7 times. Harris asked him, "Do you plead guilty because you are in fact guilty?" I don't know why it's always so much more emotional for them. They sure don't care when anybody else has to get up there and plead guilty to something that maybe they didn't do, or maybe something that they did do, but it's just as traumatizing. They're not anything special. You know, I've said it many times, but if you're not a career criminal and you get arrested, it's very traumatizing, you know, to be handcuffed and put in the back of a car and usually talked to like a dog and then strip searched and thrown into a little bitty concrete cell. It's not a fun experience, but it's not for anybody. When pleading guilty to the 7 charges, Damron admitted to illegally possessing and disposing of 4 Glock pew-pews, 3 Model 27s and 1 Model 23 that turned up missing from an evidence locker in the sheriff's office. He also admitted to illegally possessing and disposing of 1 double star AR rifle, 1 FLIR thermal scope, and to stealing more than $500 in cash, all of which were also found missing from the evidence locker. Now, you know, he knew that was wrong. You know, he knew he was stealing. Each time he stole money and each one of those pew-pews that he took out of that evidence locker, he knew that was stealing. Do you think that that's the only time he ever did it, or the ones that they caught him for? Because usually stuff like that starts out real small with small things, and then when they see that they've gotten by with that, then it leads to more and more and more. And a lot of times, if you've got one doing it, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's another one doing it. Especially if they know one of them's getting away with it. They want to get away with it too. Greed is a very ugly thing. An 8th charge of illegally possessing and disposing of a Glock Model 17 was dismissed for lack of evidence. According to the 8-count indictment returned by the Letcher County grand jury in May, the crimes to which Damron pleaded guilty occurred between November 29th, 2012, and an unknown date in 2014. So that was 2 years. 2 years. The indictment was returned after the grand jury heard testimony from Sheriff Danny Webb and Deputy Sheriff Barry Engel following an in-house investigation of Damron that began last October and continued beyond January 16th, when Webb fired Damron, who had achieved the rank of lieutenant, for insubordination. Near the end of Tuesday's hearing, Judge Harris overruled Damron's request that August 4th sentencing date be delayed and Damron be allowed to remain on house arrest. Of course, he was on house arrest until after he undergoes needed surgery to remove a foreign object from his leg. Of course. They don't care about anybody else's surgery. I can tell you that. But this is a very this is a tactic that Letcher County has used for as long as I can remember. Delay. Only he had a special judge, so he didn't have a Letcher County judge. That's probably the only reason it didn't get delayed, in my opinion. I'm sympathetic to your position, Harris told Damron, but very rarely do I not place someone into custody after they have pleaded guilty. The judge's decision came after Attorney Dotson requested leniency for Damron on the grounds that taxpayers would have to foot the bill for all costs associated with the needed surgery because the Kentucky Workers' Compensation Program, from which Damron has been receiving benefits since last fall, of course, will not pay for injured workers after they are incarcerated. In asking for the house arrest instead of jail, Dotson noted that Damron's injury occurred while he was pursuing a suspect. He also said Damron served in the Marine Corps for 8 years and has done everything the court has required of him since his indictment was returned. Prosecutor Bartley argued that because the charges to which Damron pleaded guilty are very serious offenses, Damron should be taken into custody today. I think he's a flight risk because of the time he's facing, Bartley said. Bartley also questioned why Damron has waited so long to have the surgery performed. Dotson answered that the delays were caused by physicians and could not be controlled by Damron. Before Damron was taken into custody, he was given the chance to speak with his parents and girlfriend, each of whom hugged him tearfully. After the hearing, Damron's mother accused a Mountain Eagle reporter of helping Sheriff Webb make a scapegoat of her son, while the paper looks the other way at what the other courthouse officials do. I hope you're happy, she told the reporter. All right. And then, ex-deputy, I don't know, can you see that, Mom?
Yeah.
Does it say ex-deputy gets parole after serving nearly 1 year?
It does. And it's about that guy you're talking about, Damron.
Okay. It pops up on my thing sometimes and tells me it's not there. So, all right. Thank you. This one was June 1st, 2016. So he barely served a year, I reckon. Former Letcher County Deputy Sheriff Brian Damron will be released from prison July 1st, 2 weeks short of serving 1 full year of a 5-year prison term he accepted in a plea agreement reached July 14th, 2015. The decision by the Kentucky Parole Board, which approved Damron's coming release after reviewing his file during a recent hearing, doesn't come as a surprise to Pike Commonwealth's attorney, Rick Damron, who prosecuted the state's case against Damron last summer. I think they got that name wrong. It said his name was something else in the other one, Bartley. So I don't know.
Yeah, the attorney, right?
Yeah, I think the paper misstated the name. I'm not surprised because the large majority of people who see the parole board for the first time do make parole, especially if it isn't a violent crime, he said, adding that Damron will have met the parole threshold of serving 20% of his sentence. Bartley said that whether to grant parole to an inmate is solely the function of the parole board, and that doesn't recommend or petition against inmates seeking parole. He pointed out that Damron had no prior criminal history and had other factors in his favor. Before his release next month, Damron will be required to notify the parole board where he is going to live and get the board's prior approval. He will be on parole for 4 years and must report regularly to a parole officer. If Damron violates the law or leaves his approved parole placement without permission, another parole board hearing will be scheduled, and he could end up having to serve the rest of his prison sentence. The former deputy, who was second in command at the sheriff's office until October 2014, has been held in the Harlan Regional Jail since pleading guilty to 6 counts of receiving stolen property and 1 count of theft by unlawful taking, after admitting that he stole 4 pew-pews and a rifle from the evidence locker in the sheriff's office. He also admitted to stealing more than $500 in cash from the locker. The charges against Damron were contained in an 8-count indictment returned by the Letcher County grand jury after a lengthy investigation by the sheriff's office. Neither Sheriff Danny Webb, who fired Damron in 2015, nor any of Webb's deputies were aware that Damron had been granted parole until reports surfaced on Monday. All we can say about it is that we did our jobs, said a sheriff's department spokesman before declining to comment further. Special Letcher Circuit Judge Johnny Ray Harris sentenced Damron after Damron's attorney, Daniel Dotson of Whitesburg, and Bartley reached a plea agreement. Dotson could not be reached for comment Monday afternoon. So that is very interesting. What do you think, Zelmy?
Well, it's just part of the good old boys society, you know. But I'd rather see him put ankle bracelets on them and send them on home. Make them stay in the house, and then we don't have to feed them and clothe them. They have to do it themselves.
Well, that's one way of looking at it for sure. Young black economist. Welcome, honey. Welcome. Glad you're here. If someone wants to file a complaint against me at my job, I'll hand the phone right over. I don't got nothing to hide. This makes him sound sus. Yeah, suspicious. Sure does. Tim Walker, yeah, just give him your name and location. Maybe some driving directions to your location. Yeah. These Southern sheriff's deputies are all the same. Well, when I was reading on Facebook, and I just kind of Googled, or not Googled, but I searched Brian Damron on the Facebook, and it pulled up all of these posts of people who had talked about it. And I saw one where someone who had kind of worked with him, I guess, through the city or the county, said that he was a great person and he would always be her friend, and, you know, all this stuff. You know, yeah, we have to be able to forgive people, but there is something that is called accountability and responsibility. And, you know, I will say, kind of like that prosecutor said, at least he admitted it. At least he took responsibility, and he had, you know, he pled guilty to it. And, you know, stealing, it's all a crime. They're all crimes, and you can't really say one is so much worse than the other. But you know, Schmeck's crimes seem to be on a whole nother level of their own. You know, I don't, and this is just me, and y'all might disagree, but to me, the thieving ain't on the same level as the SMEX offenses, especially of children, okay? Especially children. Do you know you've got your camera turned off, Zelmy?
Oh, well, I've been having troubles.
I didn't know if you knew you did it or not.
Well, I probably would. I don't know what happened to me. There I am. I'm not back yet. Let's see.
I can hear you. I just can't see you. Let's add her back.
Add me back.
I did. I can still hear you, but I can't see you. You keep working on that, and I'll go through some of these comments. Wow, somebody went home and kicked the dog, and wife bad mood. Good old boys. Gotta love them. Gotta love the good old boys.
Well, they shouldn't go around doing that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I know they got lives and they, they have to look at a lot of, kind of people that don't not have very many morals, but they shouldn't let those people rub off on them. You know what I'm saying? They should hold themselves up above stealing and those guns. I don't know what you do with those guns that they confiscate, but they really should in no shape or form be put back out on the streets. There's too many guns in this country. They need to just destroy them.
Yeah. You see, there's a whole lot of rolling eyes at just the mention of old DD.
There we go. I just had to find the one that I needed to click.
Well, it's still black.
Oh, it is? You can't see me? I can see myself.
It's still black on my end. Let's see.
Well, you must need to lower me some or something.
We can remove you. Let me remove you and kick yourself out and then come back. Let's see if we can get Sweet Tater back on. Seriously. Wow, small towns and corruptions during the summer. Wells case, that case absolutely just rips my heart out. I chatted with, said the narcotic officer. There you are, Zelmy. We got you now. We can see you. Got in trouble stealing rugs for personal use. It's just a shame, It's a shame. Thank you, honey. Thank you. Bloody Harlan, that's about right. We used to live there. Whenever Mom first got her job at the college, she got hired over in Cumberland. So that's where we lived for a long time. And then
Bloody Harlan, that name comes from the mining wars. Mm-hmm. I think in the 70s and the 80s, and they did that movie in Harlan County, USA. It's a good movie.
I was kind of shocked to find out that they also had wars back in the 20s and the 30s.
Oh, yeah, they did. I don't know if that was worse, but the people were literally starving to death. I mean, for real, the children were dying because there was no food. And they wouldn't let Red Cross or anybody like that come in because then they'd be supporting the strikers, you see. And the union, the people that had started that union in the 30s were a little bit on the communistic side. Mm-hmm. And so they were trying, they just wanted unions and union rights and workers' rights. They wasn't trying to do nothing governmental. Trying to overthrow the government. They was just trying to form unions.
Yeah, I did a video.
They were treated horrible. And if somebody had tuberculosis, they told them to take them home and put them underneath the floor of their house, because usually they set up a little bit, and because it was catching. Well, now, can you just imagine that that's what you do for somebody that had TB?
That's so sad.
It's a very sad.
I did a video on Uddy Harlan. And it's in it. I don't remember what playlist it's in. It might be in Harlan County, but you can go through some of my videos and find it. It wasn't a live, it was a video, so it'll be in my videos.
There's a great video that Apple Shop done. Well, I don't know if they did that video or not. It's called Harlan County, USA, and it's a great video. But Apple Shop's done a lot of good videos about this area, but they're not all about, they're not about people shooting judges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they tell the history of the people. And when you know the history of the people, then you have a better understanding of why they do the things they do. Because, it's sort of like part of the culture.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that some of these people didn't think they was doing a thing wrong.
I know.
I'm sure that man that took those guns and that money, he just thought that was old drug money, and I just will have it as anybody else, Well, I don't know. I might would have felt that way myself if I needed money.
Well, and especially if it's not going to be missed and nobody's going to find out, nobody's going to catch you.
And it wasn't going to go for anything good anyway. It was just if you didn't steal it, somebody else would.
Well, and that's why it's so important. What do you do when nobody's watching?
Well, you got to have accountability.
But that's something that we have to do, find out within ourselves. That's a question that we have to ask ourselves because nobody else is there when nobody's watching. The only person that knows is you and God and your conscience. I have one of the worst consciences ever. I can't sleep. I'll lay there and toss and turn at night if I think I've hurt somebody's feelings or if I know I've done something wrong. And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. So I have lots of sleepless nights, y'all. But there's a difference. There's a difference between making mistakes and, saying something maybe you shouldn't have said, or and SAing a female or a male. We got to remember Scott Blair, the Commonwealth Attorney in Hazard, Perry County. He was doing it to men. He didn't even get charged with it. All he got charged with was, remember, honest services fraud, because he had defrauded the people of Perry County out of his honest services. Well, what about all the things that he was doing? The rug trafficking and, making men, and he was a man, okay? So he was making men defendants who he was prosecuting their cases. He was making them he was making them let him do things to them. And I reckon then they would do things to him. I don't know, one or the other. But still, it's wrong. That's wrong. And it ain't no different than what Ben Fields did. It was pretty much on the same level. Only Ben didn't get caught giving them rugs and him taking rugs. This guy did. And he was the prosecuting attorney. This just happened. That's our culture. And that's our political culture here. They all think that apparently they can have any kind of smeck's life that they want.
Well, they get away with it is what perpetuates that nothing's ever done. If things started being done and they would take the public serious, because it's not that the public doesn't complain. It's there's nobody to take it serious.
Who you complaining to? Who's listening? Nobody's listening. Bob says, has anyone looked into the doctors that were paid huge bonuses to come live and practice in Letcher? These Harvard high society people started hobnobbing with the upper society members, coal barons.
Well, most of the coal people, even since the beginning, they don't live around here. Most of them lived in New York. That's where they came from. The people that own the mines, they lived in New York. They didn't ever come here. And then they have people hired as their, whoever's going to run the joint. Might have been a local feller.
Well, I heard a statistic not too awful long ago that was Pikeville, Kentucky had the most millionaires, like per square foot.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Of any place in the country. That's insane to think about.
That is insane. But you're talking about millionaires. Is that what we're talking about? Well, you're going to do a percent millionaire. So if you've got 50 people and two millionaires, well, you're going to get a big high percent. That's going to be 50. True. So
that's true.
That might have affected some, but it also is affected by the fact that there are coal people that live in Pikeville. But Pikeville is very different from Letcher County and Harlan County.
It absolutely
Perry
is.
County is somewhat different, but it's more like Letcher and Harlan than it is like Pikeville.
Yeah.
Knott County is like Letcher and, it's like Letcher County, but there's not as much, I don't see as much stuff over in Letcher County.
You mean Harlan?
No, I'm sorry, over in Knott County.
Knott County?
Yeah, there where Heineman is.
Well, Floyd County is where the story of Amber, what was her last name, y'all? That poor little old girl that was the dentist and his son.
Yeah, that's still going on, I think. They may have made some arrests in that case.
They did. They arrested the boy who did it, and they arrested his father, and they're going to trial.
Well, 30 or 40 years ago, there was a girl that was an informant to an FBI person. I don't know what she was telling, you know what I'm saying? And he killed her. He had an affair with her, and then he killed her. Well, I think they finally, they finally got justice for that girl. I think they found her body and stuff like that. But it's not an unheard of thing here that you have peoples in the official capacity of, that run the country or run the places like sheriffs and the officials and all that. It's the crime is pretty high.
Well, and the most important thing that I can, yes, thank you, Amber Spradling, is that what it is? I'm sorry. I cannot mess up her name and not get it right. Let me see.
Somebody mentioned the UMWA picnics. Yeah, that was the United Mine Workers of America. They had songs that they sang at the picket lines. I want to learn to sing some of them songs too, but I'm not going on any picket lines.
Yeah.
It's just historic, it's part of the culture.
Yes, her name is Amber Spradlin, Spradlin. Spradlin. I'm so sorry.
So, back in the days when they had those mining wars, in the 70s they had some, and then they had some in the 30s too. The people that enforced the killings was the sheriffs and those kind of people. They went out, the coal companies would hire those people.
They were their thugs, their hired thugs.
They were the hired thugs. J.B. Blair, he was the sheriff over there in Harlan County when they were trying to unionize.
Yep. They unalived a whole lot of people.
Well, a lot of people died from starvation just as much, and disease. just all kinds of awful stuff. And then again, they couldn't get anybody to come in and help because, you know, they'd be accused of un-American activities by trying to help the minors.
Well, and I'm sure they probably used the same kinds of tactics that they did with the Indians, surround them and block them off where they can't get any food, they can't get any water, they can't get out and get anything. So they're isolated.
They starved them to death and tried to break the picket lines that way.
Yeah, the scabs. They called them scabs.
That's been a continual thing since the 30s and the 20s in these eastern mountain coal mining regions. Now, I don't know, maybe the other regions are like that too. But I didn't notice it when I lived other places. When I lived in Ohio, which I did for many years, I didn't notice any of that stuff. If it went on, I wasn't aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think when you're in a bigger place and you're not living the life of so you're not in the criminal lifestyle, you're not at risk for a lot of those things. You don't ever have any contact with police or officials, elected officials. If you don't ever have that contact with them, but in here where it's such a smaller geographical area, you've got just a smaller population. So you have more of a risk of having some interaction with law enforcement, even if you don't live a criminal lifestyle.
And of course, the county seat is Whitesburg, so there's always a lot more activity going around in the county seat. Here in Neon, we don't have too much. We might have a little bit.
Yeah. And this word keeps popping up all over the place. Gangstalking. I've been hearing a whole lot about gangstalking. And it kind of sounds like one of them, like something you'd hear on TV, not something that would actually happen. But we're starting to see that a lot of this stuff that we thought would never happen is happening. Do you think Mickey was paranoid or playing victim in the car ride to Leslie? My personal opinion, he was playing victim. I think that he was aware enough on that car ride to not say anything incriminating and not say anything that hurt him. And he also was aware enough on what things to say. So, but that's just something I think. What do you think, Zelmy?
Well, I think that there was a possibility that they'd take him out in the hills and shoot him dead. I mean, things like that have happened in the past. Maybe not, in this last 20 years or something. I don't know. But I think that he was acting in his own best defense and what he thought. And he knew, of course, that they were recording it on those cams.
Oh, yeah.
So he wanted to make sure that he looked like the good guy, that he was surrendering and he was getting in the car and riding to wherever they wanted to take him. But he wanted to make sure that he said stuff that would be on those cameras, I think. He was just trying to protect himself.
Yeah. Justice Seeker. Eastern Kentucky, so crooked and corrupt and vile and evil. It's so heartbreaking. I remember Zach Caldwell from Leslie County. He had tow trucks driving when they had that strike over there. That was probably the second one. So they had the first one that happened like in the 20s and 30s, and then they had it again in like the 70s. Was it 60s or 70s?
Yeah, they had it in the 70s or the 80s or whatever. When I first lived over in Harlan County, I lived up a road called Clover Lick.
Yeah.
And down there, and one time they had a strike, and down there at the bottom, they had people stopping you. You couldn't go up Clover Lake because that's where some of their coal mines were.
That's where the Arch
Arch
mine was, and we had to drive past it just to go home. And what she's saying is whenever we tried to go home, they wouldn't let you pass because Arch was right there.
You'd have to stop and they'd look in the car. I guess they thought you might be smuggling out some coal or something. Or
a scab smuggling somebody in up there that would work.
They kept fires burning all night. And then they also had that strike over there about 4 years ago where somebody went out of business, went bankrupt, and they was trying to drive them trains out of there that were filled with coal after they'd gone bankrupt. And the people went out and stopped them trains, wouldn't let them leave. And they got their money too.
The people who had worked, their checks bounced, or they didn't get paid. They didn't get paid, and the company was saying they had gone bankrupt and they couldn't even pay the people who had already worked like 2 weeks worth of work and was expecting a paycheck. That was a really, really big mess.
They got their money though, didn't they?
Or
they got most of it. I think maybe some funds were from some other places, but I think they managed to survive.
Yeah. There has never been any people done as dirty as American veterans and the people of the Appalachians in every which way. Same thing in West New York. Back in the day, the railroad company unions employed law enforcement for security. Deaths happened during strikes. Yeah.
You know that one movie about out west, I think it's called Hell on Wheels. Man, that's a good movie, and it shows you the struggles of the people, you know, with the railroad. It's a good movie. It's really gory, though.
DC 28, were the troopers trying to egg on the sheriff? They kept talking about the family and daughter like they knew something.
Well, I think that was just from the gossip that was going around at the courthouse, because they didn't grab him and take him right off to jail. You know, I'm sure there was an hour at least and maybe 2 hours where people were texting and messaging and talking. So I think that's where that daughter and wife thing comes up. I don't know if there's anything to that or not, but
I know.
We just never know. It could be every bit the truth. You just never know.
Yep. Angel Fire. He knew what they were capable of, so he was scared rightfully. So good old boys make people disappear. Well,
I think that he was being careful. I still say that he, you know, was trying to make them think it.
Because you got to remember, too, if he still has a family, he has a wife, he has a daughter. And if this is, you know, like real organized crime, what happens? People be quiet so nothing happens to their family. It's not just about them. They have to think about people who they love. He's probably safe on the inside of jail, but does that mean his family is safe?
What's that mean there? Justice seeker. Did you see that the SW, what's that?
Shows she had a license number as of the 10th of this month. Social worker. Oh, they're talking about something else. I'm sorry. That's probably something they're talking about on there. Who would be more aware to be afraid than the sheriff of the county?
Absolutely.
Let's see. Bob says if he was asking them to make sure no pew pew was in the car. Well, that's an Oscar. Well, he was thinking. I wouldn't have thought of that. Would you? Or at least I don't think I would have thought of that. Let's see.
Well, if there's been cars in the back seat, and they're going to put him in the back seat while he's getting in the back seat, they could say that he was trying to get a gun and kill him and shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just never know what people are going to do.
Well, I think that's what he was getting at when he said that. Check the back seat. Check the back seat. Don't you put me back there before you check that seat. I just think it's awful. It was said that Brian was running the Harlan Detention Center what time he was there. I'm sure he probably was. I bet you Mickey's going to be running the Leslie Detention Center before he's out of there. You know, they've got a history, and they're going to bond with the people who work in these jails. And these are not New York jails. These are hillbilly. You saw how those officers talked to Mickey when they were putting him in the car. I got you, brother. I got you, brother. I mean, it's a brotherhood. Law enforcement is a brotherhood. Did you hear anybody? You know, it didn't seem to me like anybody was even angry with him. The judge was just as much these people's coworker and friend as Mickey was, wasn't he? And it doesn't seem like any of them were even upset with him, you know, that he had done that. And I know they're police officers. They're supposed to be trained, but we don't have the unaliving of a judge by a sheriff just happen all the time. This is something that they could never have trained for, you know, and that just doesn't seem like there was any emotion out of any of these police officers or anybody that was investigating that we saw. And then remember the video of the police officer driving to the courthouse. He's telling another officer that there was a pew-pew at the courthouse. Judge was unalived, and he starts laughing. Now, I know we've had that conversation. Some people think it was a nervous laugh. I don't. I disagree with that. I don't think that was a nervous laugh because I have a nervous laugh. I know what it sounds like. That sounded to me like, yippee-ki-yay, here we go. We get to go get some bad guys. And he probably didn't know it was Mickey who had done it. When I first heard, I wanted to say this. When I first heard that the judge had been unalived, my very first reaction, instant, my very first reaction was, they've took somebody's kid. They've took somebody's kid, and that parent has, had it enough and went in there and did what they did. That was my very first reaction. But it wasn't. It just blows me away.
What did we start off doing? I forget now.
We listened to that thing about Brian Damron and
oh yeah, that was 10, 12 years ago, right?
Barry Engel. Yeah. And I could say something about that officer that happened not too awful long ago that didn't show much morals and values at all, but I'm not going to say it. Just know that we've got situations all the time around here it's not just around here. I guess it's in the whole world, y'all. People just don't believe in loyalty and, staying with your spouse. My last live was with a nurse that worked in a hospital for the criminally insane. There is a video that talks about me meeting Ron Logan. Lord.
Who's Ron Logan? I don't know.
Well, let me check and see if it's who I think it is. Because I might be thinking of somebody else. Ron Logan. Oh, no, it's not who I thought it was. Ron Logan was an American businessman who served as an executive vice president. That might not be the right one. Ron Logan, are you talking about? Guessing at any time we could be at war with some country or within, whether civil or revolution. Oh, I guess I pushed the wrong one. My last live was with a nurse that worked in a hospital for the criminally insane. There is a video that talks about me meeting Ron Logan. Is that the guy that was in the Delphi case? The guy that passed away in the Delphi case? He was the one that owned the property that those girls were found on. Guessing? Oh, I already read that one. It's gone.
What girls, Elizabeth?
The two little girls in Indiana that were found, they had went hiking up on the Monon Bridge Trail, and 13 and 14 years old, and they went missing. They found them the next day, and both of them were unalived, and it's the Delphi case. And then they ended up 5 years later arresting a guy who just worked at the CVS as a pharmacy tech who had been hiding in plain sight, but a whole lot of people don't believe that he's the one who did it. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Well, they done had the trial and he was convicted. It's gone beyond corrupt. It is open corruption now when they can go in the wrong home, Doug Harless, an unalive and innocent man, and they haven't even bothered to say so much as oops. Very, very true. What is gangstalking? Anybody else want to take this one? I'm sure that we'll have a pretty good definition in here. Leslie County has had all kinds of people go missing, red-rummed, etc., and it seems like no one's really doing anything about these missing and red-rummed people. I know we got 3 unsolved red rums right in the same little area that Ben Fields and all of his family lives in. You know, it's just too much coincidence. I've always heard and learned that when it comes to red rum, there are no such thing as coincidences. And I think a lot of people around here think that we're supposed to just, you know, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. It was the last one. I'm like comedy, and I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but I was just thinking about how bad it was. Then it's always been bad and crooked and underhanded. If you're not in those circles, it is. Oh, I've been trying to figure out how to buy gift memberships for you all and can't figure it out. Mama Duck, you got any advice on that? I think I'm not sure how to do it. I'm sure Mama Duck will, or somebody tell us. Anybody who's bought gift memberships know how to do it can help Miss Crystal. Denise says, I've watched that footage several times. My gut tells me the sheriff was actually afraid. Sure, he knows what will be videoed, but he also knows those higher ups that victim was talking about. Either way, Bloody Harlan Clover Fork is where my ex-husband used to work. This was Clover Lick. But there is a Clover Fork, too.
There is a Clover Fork.
Mm-hmm. Hell on Wheels is an awesome show. Mr. Anston Mount is a heck of an actor, and he's from Kentucky. Western North Carolina is still suffering. Some people are still on the ground, and the ones in hotels FEMA were trying to throw out in the cold. We had FEMA and all that up here, too, when we had the flood.
They were good, too.
Were they?
They were very good. And I ate what the food they had for at least 3 months.
Yeah, they did. They had all kinds of food here then, didn't they, Mom?
Oh, yeah, everybody. They had that. I mean, they were, you know, all kinds of churches and all kinds of those national agencies were in here.
Yeah, they sure did. They fed everybody for a long time. Brought water, cases of water.
They brought everything. There was so much stuff here, there wasn't any place to store it.
Yep. I live in Letcher County and have a nervous laugh. I think Billy was saying, Billy Huggins, welcome, honey, welcome. Wasn't a nervous laugh. I have a nervous laugh too. Yeah, laugh. I got you. Oh, I got you. I think that Nikki knew that he was being recorded, and he was. Let's see. Lord, I can't type. When I believe that Mickey knew that and was setting it all up when he was being recorded on the way to Leslie County, because it was too, I don't know, like an act, in my opinion. Well, I just think it's awful. I think it's absolutely awful. Whenever we act on impulse, we usually regret our decision. I do. Let me just speak for myself. Anytime I act impulsively, or, sometimes we can be influenced by other people too. And we can maybe react or act in a way that may not be, normal for ourselves. But we have to be responsible for our actions. I am responsible for everything that I do, and there's nobody else that's responsible for it. I have to make a decision every single day when I wake up what I'm going to do and how I'm going to conduct myself. And we all have that same duty in life, to ourselves and to whoever's around us, our surroundings. Let's see. There is an article in London on that case. The county maps location of 489. The warrant had his name on the warrant. Post office made the address for the mail. That's the story of the wrong house search warrant. He says, Miss Becky says, what was your opinion on the old movie Harlan County War? Did you watch that, Zelmy?
I don't know which one that one is. There is a Harlan County, USA. And it's documented. It's a documentary. So mostly what's in those mining war things is pretty accurate. They got some from West Virginia too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My dog Rex. The state has no duty to protect. Search for Bowers v. DeVito, 1982. Thanks for the tip. So if anybody wants to search that up, search it up. Regardless if some or even all of it is an act or not, Stines is a martyr, in my opinion, because he now has nationwide attention on people exposing corruption in local government. Well,
I think he's going to be a martyr too.
Yeah,
I don't think he intended to be that way, but I think he will be. And, there may be stories written, in the future about how he was the first one to pinpoint this corruption, yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying?
Well, whenever Edison Banks's live-in aid, medical aid, got pulled over in all of those, in his car, in Edison Banks's vehicle, and they found all them rugs. I mean, she had H, she had F that unalives everybody. She had needles. She had everything you could think of for a trafficker.
That's what the arrest warrant said. The documentation said that she had that stuff. It's not just gossip.
No, that's right. It was documented. She had all that. They even sent one of them off, one of the substances off, and that's how they found out that it was the F word that unalives everybody. And
So now what's that mean right there, that thing right there? A wide two, Tiffany.
Gangstalking sounds scary after spending time in some of these chats. I'm surprised some crazy hasn't committed a YouTube red rum or stalking. Well, gangstalking, I think, is like when somebody gets in trouble. Say I get on somebody's bad side, and then all their buddies are police officers or social workers, or even people in the community. They can get people to go harass you and get pulled over all the time, or go to jail, get arrested. There's all kinds of ways, I reckon, that they can use it. But it's supposedly a real thing. It usually refers to groups of people on the internet that travel around and harass one person or creator and make a bunch of hate videos on them. Oh, I thought it was something different. My bad. My bad. Let's see. And they also go real life on them in dangerous and intrusive ways.
I read about gang stalking, and I think that it is a psychological condition. And it is where a person believes that there's people that are stalking them and spying on them. That's what it said. I can read it to you if you want me to. Want me to read it? Gang stalking is a belief system where people think they are being followed, harassed, and monitored by a large group of people. People who believe they are experiencing gang stalking are sometimes called targeted individuals. It's a group or group stalking, a set of persecutory beliefs in which those affected believe that they are being followed. Did you hear me?
Yep.
Those that are most at risk for gang stalking are people who know each other. Less than 1/4 of women and about 1/3 of the men are stalked by strangers. Women are most likely to be stalked by a current or former intimate partner during the relationships. So that's what gang stalking is when you think, I guess it can be true. You could, if you get in trouble with the law and they spread it around the whole county and every place you go, they're giving you a ticket here and there. I guess that would be a type of gang stalking.
Yeah, one of my friends, who's one of our viewers, she just sent me a message a little bit earlier. And she said that she had a situation a while back. And let me see what she said. She said that one of the lawyers and their secretaries made a copy of the discovery video against her cousin and handed them out like hotcakes. That's a form of that.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not right. Lawyers shouldn't do that. But I have a real big, I got a bone to pick with lawyers. I think a whole lot of lawyers enable crimes when they're not supposed to by protecting criminal clients and helping criminals get by on other people who may not have the kind of money to hire a lawyer themselves.
Well, That's what they're supposed to do when you hire an attorney. They're not supposed to tell what you did wrong. They're supposed to get you out of whatever trouble you're in.
I know, but like this big celebrity up in New York, he's been taking advantage of people and stealing their like their music rights and making them all sign NDAs and sign all this stuff to where like he robbed them all, tried to, and after he would R-word them, like a lot of women and men apparently were R-worded by this guy, and they would and the lawyers though are the ones who write up these non-disclosure agreements. They're the ones who write up these contracts to steal people's money and take advantage of them. They know what's going on. I mean, I know that's, you hire a lawyer as your attorney, but there's an ethics, there's a question of ethics there. Like, they're not supposed to help you commit crimes. They're not supposed to help you steal from people and rob people blind and then threaten them and intimidate them into staying quiet. That's not what a lawyer's job is, but a lot of times that's what they do. Thanks for commenting. Oh, all kinds of legal problems. Support. All right, guys. I think we'll leave this one here. We've been on here for an hour and a half. I've got some other stuff that we're going to be looking at, but yeah, there's some cases, like I'm not even going to touch Sebastian Rogers, y'all. There's a whole lot of creators that are covering his case. And we'll probably watch a couple things on little Maddie Soto, and we'll definitely follow the trial. But I'm not going to go all deep into Maddie Soto either, just because there's so many other creators that are following those cases. We're going to try and stick with some of these cases that are not as well known, that are just as important and outrageous. But we're going to look at a little bit more of the wrong house search warrant tomorrow. I've got an updated video on that, and a couple other things that we'll watch and see. And we'll look at the Fourth Amendment and see what the Fourth Amendment says about search and seizures, and just go over that together too. Thank you, Miss Christie. Fantastic live last night on Surviving the Survivor. I can't wait to go back. I had fun on Joel's show. Not every guest gets Joel to be quiet as long as you did. He said he'd fall asleep hearing us talk. Thank you guys for coming and supporting. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. We're going to cover Doug Harless. Okay, that's just a given. That's a must. That's really, really important. All right, guys. Well, you all have a great rest of your evening. Mommy, you stay warm. Love on them babies.
I will. They're over there getting my bed warm.
Good. Well, you all have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m., okay?
Okie dokie. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Mommy. Stay warm, stay blessed, and peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.